Yes, Kenya. Tamu sana, tamu sana, tamu sana, yes. This afternoon, Raila Odinga, taking to his social media accounts, issued a press brief that I want us to have a look at here, for it's going to form the basis of our analysis and discussion right now. Raila Odinga, if the regime chooses to turn our peaceful and constitutional activities into a showdown and assassinations that Mr. Kuria and Mr. Gachagua are threatening, so be it. We are ready. And then Raila Odinga attaches the press release April 30, 2023, as immune protests remain on course despite assassination threats. In fact, it's a very long press brief, but I want us to have a look at some areas I feel are relevant for our analysis and discussion. If you jump to number 2, unless Mr. Ruto wants to suspend the constitution and rule by decree, we will exercise our right to assemble, demonstrate, picket, and present petitions on Tuesday, 2nd May 2023, as earlier announced, dark threats notwithstanding. And then number 3, on that day, we shall present a petition to the IEBC showing that the election results were doctored and demand an audit of the servers. We shall also petition IEBC against the sacking of the 4 commissioners because it presents a dangerous precedent in which in all future elections, all commissioners will be required to agree with the chairperson of IEBC, effectively making election a one-person show. 4, we shall equally present a petition to the office of the president proving that the cost of food, fuel, electricity, and fees remain unacceptably high. We will further petition OP to desist from invading and destroying rival political parties, as was attempted on Jubilee headquarters and through auction of MPs in Parliament. 5, we will be visiting the National Treasury on 2nd May 2023 to petition for the immediate release of all funds owed to counties and the timely payment of salaries to all civil servants. We plan to visit the Public Service Commission on the day to demand that appointments on public offices be done purely on the basis of merit and inclusivity, not tribe, as is presently the case. We cannot have a country of close to 50 tribes where appointments go only to members of one tribe. Yes. So Raila is just reiterating that on Tuesday 2nd, Azimio will proceed with its planned mass action as earlier planned, in spite of all the threats, in fact assassination threats coming from the government. Because Kuria, yesterday evening, when Kenyans were asleep, took to his social media accounts and issued some threats on Raila Odinga's life. And this is not the first time Kuria is issuing threats on Raila Odinga's life. Some years back, about 6 years ago, Kuria also threatened that Raila Odinga would actually be assassinated. So Kuria is not new to these threats on Raila Odinga's lives. And also listening to Rigathi Gachagua, that's the same tone by Rigathi Gachagua. Final solution, huyu mtu ametusumbua sana na baba yake. Those are threats coming from the government. Listening to William Ruto, it's a fact that these leaders are threatening Raila Odinga most definitely with the blessings of William Samoei Ruto. So Ruto himself is also part and parcel of the threats on Raila Odinga's life. In this video, as usual, I want us to dig deep into this analysis, rather into this story, for Kenyans to understand the games being played behind the scenes. But even before we start, or rather we do that, let me also share with you a paragraph here by Raila Odinga. The Constitution of Kenya, which in Article 37 provides that every person has the right peaceably and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities, has not been suspended. And that's a very important chapter for Kenyans to know that Azimio's demonstrations are well within the law. Azimio is not doing anything illegal by calling for protests and demonstrations. In fact, it's the prerogative of the police to give Azimio and their leaders, their supporters, protection. And as they protect Azimio and their supporters, the police are equally charged with the responsibility. Yeah, the police is equally charged with the responsibility of also protecting those not demonstrating. So from the way William Ruto and his team are talking, it's almost a fact, and this is very clear, that they don't know on how to handle this issue. In fact, I won't be wrong to conclude Ruto and his team are very green when it comes to governance. They were not just ready, not prepared to rule. What does that all mean, ladies and gentlemen? The first thing coming out clearly, listening to William Ruto, listening to Raila Odinga's team, this Kenya is not very safe now. I'm seeing the situation most definitely going to escalate. And this will lower investors' confidence in Kenya. So things are going to worsen. Life is going to be more difficult for the so-called hustler Kenyans. Because when the big boys are fighting, then it's the people to actually suffer. But looking at Azimio's demonstrations, it's a fact. It's the government that is interfering with Azimio's peaceful demonstrations. We have seen before that if the police do not interfere, then the protests are always very peaceful. When the police comes, then the police come with one intention, to interfere. And by interfering, it's also believed that even the government also sponsor, or rather has been sponsoring goons to cause chaos, to paint Azimio in bad light. So what Kenyans should and must know, that life is going to be more difficult for Kenyans as time goes by. William Ruto's team are very clueless on how to handle peaceful demonstrating Kenyans. And because of that, Kenyans are most definitely going to suffer as a result of lack of wisdom on the part of the government. Something coming out very clearly, William Ruto and his team should and must now be told that Raila Odinga is not the politician you threaten or you intimidate. In fact, Raila, in my honest opinion, performs far much better when he's actually being threatened. So William Ruto and his team, if any of William Ruto's advisors here is listening to me, let them tell William Ruto and his team that you cannot intimidate or cow down Raila Odinga by giving him threats. The only way to bring Raila Odinga, or rather to calm down Raila Odinga, is by embracing Raila Odinga. That's something William Ruto should and must be told. The only way to humble Raila Odinga is to embrace Raila Odinga, not giving him threats. I'm very sure that come that Tuesday, Raila and his team will proceed with their demonstrations. William Ruto and his police will do nothing to stop that demonstration because that's a right enshrined in the constitution. And if maybe William Ruto is allowed and his team to be issuing threats, assassination threats, then I think that will be the beginning of dictatorship in Kenya. And that's why personally, I'd advise Raila Odinga and his team to make good their threats and go for that demonstration that Tuesday. Let William Ruto and his team do their worst because I strongly believe that is now too much. Threats, everyday threats. No, I think it's now too much. Raila and his team should proceed with the Tuesday's demonstrations. That's the only way Kenyans can actually thwart this crippling dictatorship we are seeing from the side of government. As I conclude, it's a fact the government is panicking. They have failed to deliver, so they don't want anybody criticizing the government. They have failed. Any government that has failed always turns dictatorial. That's exactly what we are witnessing here. Ruto gave a lot of promises to Kenyans, promises that he has failed to deliver. Now the only way that he can continue cheating Kenyans, all the so-called hustlers, is to intimidate and try, or rather, is to intimidate and to try to silence any critique. Let's meet in our next analysis. Thank you. God bless you.